Hello and welcome to our live panel discussion here at ICE Barcelona 2026. How big is the black market and what can be done about it? Today I am pleased to be joined by Ismail Vali, President of Gaming Compliance International and founder of YieldTech.
Thank you.
Hello Ismail. Erwin van Lambert, the CEO of Casinos Austria Group and Chairman of European Casinos Association.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us. And as well, Marta de Francisco, a lawyer at Asensi, Abogados.
Yeah, thank you for having me here.
Okay guys, so the first topic we want to talk about is the true size of the black market. So Erwin, what do you think the true size of the gambling black market really is?
Well, thanks to this gentleman here, as being the chairman of the ECA, we really wanted to know, is it growing, how big is it, what do we need to do about it? Exactly the topic that we're talking about today. So we now know that across Europe, it's around 80 billion euros illegal non-licensed revenue. Which basically means that EU countries are missing out probably around 22 to 23 billion euros in taxes, which is around 70%, to be honest, of all revenue being created online today in the EU. Consumers not being protected, taxes not being paid, licensed operators not getting the revenue that they actually should be getting, and obviously from our perspective, not only from our Austrian perspective, but from a European perspective, I think it's really worrying that it's so big and it's growing every single day.
How could it actually be monitored and by what metrics?
Well, I think IP and payment blocking is an absolute crucial instrument to implement into markets. IP blocking itself basically works for 24 hours, as we all know, and then it's already gone. So you need to have IP and payment blocking, and I think it's absolutely crucial to have a very clear consumer communication going about explaining to consumers how damaging it is not to play with a licensed controlled operator, because licensed operators have one goal. They want to protect consumers really well and they don't want to lose their license because of commercial reasons. So if people play with a licensed operator, you're sure that the product is quality-wise really good, you're really protected, you know that the money goes where it needs to go, that taxes are being paid. So I think IP payment blocking and really good communication, making a massive difference between licensed and non-licensed operators is an absolute key thing.
Marta, does that align with what you know?
Yeah, well, actually, it was funny. Early today, the Spanish regulator was talking about illegal market and how big it was in Spain, and he was not really worried about it because he said that it was around like 6% of the players that played in offshore operators. However, recent studies show that up to 23% of players are playing offshore and in the black market, of course. And for me, I think the thing that worries the most is the confusion that players get, that they don't really know whether they're playing in legal or illegal operators. And some studies show that up to 47% of the players in Spain don't really know that they're playing in the black market. So crazy figures, right?
Yeah, that is interesting, yeah. So Ismail, where is growth coming from for illegal operators?
Growth is coming from a few areas for illegal operators. Let me just go back to one point here. So we often talk about the legal market, illegal market. There's one marketplace, okay? Marketplace for Spain, marketplace for Germany, marketplace for Austria. There are two industries in it. One legal licensed sector, one illegal unlicensed sector. Crime is stealing from all of us, okay? That's what they came to do, that's what they are doing. It's what they've been doing every year for 3 decades. So in terms of where the growth is coming from, regulation exploitation is their absolute evergreen product. So any law you have, the age limit, 18 or 21 years old, they will be on top of that because they want the kids and they want the self-exclude customers. What's coming next for them is basically everything you bring in on deposit criteria, KYC, responsible gaming. All of these are opportunities for crime. That's regulation exploitation. That's the main plank in the illegal gaming business model. Okay? The next area will be events and cultural situation. So this year we're in another year of gambling without gaps. So there is no gap in the calendar this year for most of the world, apart from North America, not that interested in soccer. So even though the World Cup will be there this year, what you'll be focused on this year is every single week you'll be able to bet on top flight international soccer, right now with CONCACAF and the Premier League, all of the leagues in Europe, and that's going to carry on through June and July with the World Cup, and then it goes straight into the new seasons in August. So that's a big calendar for them this year. The other breakout product for illegal gambling this year is illegal streaming. Illegal streaming of sports and of movies and TV shows, okay? So what illegal gambling is looking for is how do we monetize the great relationship they built up during the pandemic, this era of the gamification of everything? Illegal gambling went to illegal streaming in 2020 and 21. Why? They went there because there was no professional sports and all the illegal sports books had no product to offer betting on. So they went to illegal streaming and went, we can provide you product, snail racing, kids basketball, guys in Pakistan playing cricket matches saying that they're India versus Pakistan, but it's just 5 guys versus 5 guys.
Wow.
But we're filming it in the old stadiums that weren't being used during the pandemic.
Yeah.
So what they learned then, this love affair and this dark nexus between illegal gambling and illegal streaming was, we can give you any kind of content and we can watch it convert. Because even if it's nonsense content, people will click on it on social media and then I can cross-sell you from that content into illegal gambling casino, into illegal gambling poker, and I will make 20, 30, 40% margin from you. So the big products this year, illegal streaming is the breakout product to watch out for, because this will be one of the first World Cups where FIFA have just licensed the rights to legal gambling companies. Do you think that means illegal gambling doesn't notice it? Of course they notice it. They will be all over it.
Yeah. Okay, so what does GCI YieldSec hear from clients across operations, regulation and law enforcement? What are the problem areas in dealing with the illegal sector that you've seen?
It's not just one problem, illegal gambling, it's many problems. What does crime do with the money it makes from illegal gambling? More crime. Okay, so there will be more and more problems coming to your borders within the gaming sector, within the economic sector as well. And the whole point of this, why was YieldSec established? When GCI acquired my business in November 2025, I said it was the same task with a different mask, basically. For me, it's still about defeating unregulated gambling and allowing regulated, legal gambling to provide the benefit it should to commerce, community, consumers. That's the whole point for me. The mission hasn't changed whatsoever. So for us with clients, it's basically getting every legal stakeholder client to a place where the revenues you should earn benefit your commerce. The taxation and community benefit you should provide with excluded children, excluded self-admitted problem gamblers should be excluded. You should also be able to provide consumer benefit because it's a fair, safe, sustainable industry that is demanded and desired by consumers, but how are we fulfilling that when we see crime every day in plain sight in our marketplaces and we do nothing as communities to get rid of it?
Yeah, this is very interesting.
I think if I may add, I think it's a very good point, right? So there is not a non-legal market. There's only one market which is licensed, controlled, and regulated, right? And I think very often you have some kind of a strange economical discussion about it because then people are saying, you have illegal, and some companies are non-licensed operators, but they're licensed somewhere else. It's very simple. At least in Europe, it's very clear. You need a license in each country to be able and allowed to operate. And if you do not have a license, you don't offer your product. Either you try to get a license, or if the government decides differently, you can't. It's simply what it is. And there's no reason to say, no, but I'm going to do it anyway. I mean, if we're going to say, yeah, but I need to be at home earlier because otherwise my wife's going to be angry, and I hit a red light, I still get a fine. Yeah. And it's my problem that I left my office too late. So it's very, very clear. There's no in the middle. It's either red or it's green. You have a license or you don't. So there's basically one market, and that market is well regulated, and that's good for the consumer, for the long run, but also for the long run.
Yeah, no, I was about to say that what Ismail was talking about it is very interesting because yesterday the Spanish regulator was talking about how operators have these they really need to find and to look for those players that are like regular players that play for fun, and the other players are bad players. But the thing here is that high intensity players are the ones most prevalent in black market. So, I mean, what is better for them, to play in a safe environment in a regulated market, or just go and leak offshore? So, I mean, these type of players, they are not going to stop playing. No. Right? So it was funny for me to see how the Spanish regulator was telling the operators, like, no, these are not your players, we don't care about them. And it's exactly who you care about, because you want to be safe playing.
You must care about every player in your community, because that community of players is what's leading to all of the commerce and all of the community benefit and taxation. So I only ever see in the gaming business, I came from operations, okay? I saw in the gaming business that it's one of these industries that's constantly maligned. Everybody, I remember my ex-mother-in-law used to constantly say, oh, it's immoral, the work you do, working for poker companies and gambling companies. Look at the tax we pay. Look at the jobs we create. Look at the consumer fund that's gained from it for the consumers who can interact with it properly. When you allow crime in, and all of us did unknowingly, because we all thought 20 years ago, if we basically legalize and regulate this thing, it will take care of itself. The legal business will out, customers will all flock to the ones who can advertise on TV, who can sponsor sports teams and the rest of it. And that is not what happened. What happened was crime went, we are not giving up the revenue that we had, and we are not rolling up our tents and leaving. We own this business and we want it for the future. So there is a dark connection to illegal and regulated gaming, and you must stamp it out to control those marketplaces. And as Owen said, it's every jurisdiction gets to decide its own destiny. So if I want in Austria this model, you can have that model, but you must monitor, police, enforce and optimize to protect that model and protect your audience. And commerce, community, consumer benefit. All of those things are worth billions of dollars a year. So if you're looking at what's going on in Europe, 80 billion a year stolen by crime. In America, $67 billion a year stolen by crime. In the UK, £500 million a year stolen by crime. So you add that up globally, you're looking at hundreds of billions of dollars over 3 decades now. It's unacceptable to have a crime story that big in plain sight, and yet we do nothing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I would say on the contrary, so there is something being done, taxes are being increased. So existing operators in many European countries now are being faced by higher taxes. To be honest, as an inhabitant of Europe, I understand that certain countries have certain deficits and financial needs. We all understand that. We all know that we have geopolitical problems that basically increases the NATO norm. So we need money for that. I totally understand that. And our industry needs to pay taxes to contribute to that as well. Completely fine. From all our taxes, hospitals, roads, defenses being paid, and that's completely fine. The problem is though, that is we now know that in Europe alone, it's an 80 billion euro market and we're losing out 22 to 23 billion euro in taxes. And you're taxing the existing licensed professional operators instead of very easily finding it somewhere else. There's something wrong with this picture. It's just weird. And it doesn't make any sense. I'm not saying I don't want to pay taxes, because every company needs to pay taxes. We as well. You might even agree upon a high percentage. I'm not very happy with it for my shareholders, but I would understand that. But you should try to get it somewhere else and not from the licensed operators, because we do protect the consumers. And another point I think is that a lot of countries are now actually taking a lot of measures when it comes to advertising and sponsoring, which basically gives a completely open field to all the illegals to flourish even further, because they do not have restrictions on bonuses, they do not have restrictions on Meta. And for example, Meta is an issue as well, because they're accepting a lot of advertising for illegal gambling offers, and that's just a bad thing. So it's not only that we're not attacking the criminals, like Ismail just explained, it's also that on the other side, at the same time of the medal, the existing licensed professional good guys, like all of us, are being put under pressure as well. And that's a very unhealthy and a very dangerous situation, I would say.
Look, there's one other example I'd give here. I spoke yesterday in my speech about how American online gaming is just diving off a cliff into the abyss, basically. I said we live in a twilight world. America is one of the worst cases of that. Europe is even more going towards that world, okay? In America, we started in 2023 with 105 legal licensed gambling operators, okay? 105. For 30 states that have sports betting, 7 that have casino, okay? So it's a weird patchwork quilt. Obviously, crime's gonna be interested in that opportunity. By 2024, that's dropped to 95. Okay, there's some movement. By the midpoint of 2025, we've dropped to 57 legal licensed operators. So there is the silent death of legal licensed operators in America. That is coming to Europe too, because you will not maintain your licensing and your operational standards when everybody's putting the taxes up. Why? Because they aren't making the money they should. So if the governments are saying put taxes up, that's a very clear indicator of nobody's making the revenue they should. So you're not getting paid the tax you should, which means the consumers are getting screwed too. Yeah. And that means crime has made a home in your country. You need to change it. So people are doing something about some forms of illegal gambling. Let's try and block the payments. Let's talk to Visa and MasterCard. Let's talk to Facebook. It's not enough, because you all need to work together. across the entire ecosystem. Otherwise, change doesn't happen, and what's happening in America now will come to your country. It will come.
Yeah.
Marta, I was going to ask, like, looking at the players, so at what point does regulation become like a real hindrance for the players, you think?
Well, I believe that it becomes a real hindrance when there is this advertising advantage for illegal operators. The Spanish operator just faced these really strict these restrictions in advertising, which makes it really hard for them to advertise and to communicate to players like this is a safe place. On the other hand, the illegal operators are all over the internet. They have this Meta, Facebook advertising, and of course, if you're a person that don't really know about .com or .es in Spain, which is the legal domain, you just click what appears first, right? So the algorithm is just about what, not what is legal or illegal, and not what it's licensed or unlicensed. They just have it all. Yeah.
So looking at how the black market and regulated markets kind of like coexist as such, I know you said there's one market, but are you seeing the black market grow for any particular reason? Marta, again, like what's happening in the regulated sector to cause offshore leakage?
Well, I mean, I don't want to sound repetitive, but I think the regulation is really unfair for the legal operators, and they are just seeing the illegal market growth, and it's not fair. So they are facing all these restrictions and limitations, and actually the operator needs to work with the regulator to just like be on the same path, and it's very important to have this channelization, you know? So the main point here is that players are going to keep playing. So this leads to offshore if the attractiveness of the legal market is low, and the illegal operators just offer these great bonuses and great promotions and are all over the social media and Telegram channel, which is crazy. Telegram, I mean, wow. And legal operators just can do nothing, cannot compete with them.
Yeah.
What Marta said there is, again, is price, product, and promotion. So if you look at legal versus illegal on that price, product, and promotion, prices. If I don't pay tax, best price. If I am unrestricted in any way about the products I can offer, because I'll offer predictor market bets on when Barbara Streisand will die, which is a real bet out there. Barbara Streisand is a saint, by the way. So you shouldn't be offering that bet. Glad we all agree on that. So you shouldn't be offering that bet, but illegal predictor market platforms will offer that bet. They offered like 2024, 25, Christmas and New Year. Leading predictor market bet on celebrity Deadpools was this one. Biggie and Tupac, the rappers, will be resurrected along with Jesus Christ on New Year's Day. People were buying that bet just to put it on their social media feeds because it was funny, and their real lives aren't as interesting as that bet was. Okay? So then there's a promotional piece. We've got all kinds of restrictions around advertising on football shirts now, advertising on billboards, advertising around schools, for example. Illegal gambling doesn't need to listen to any of that stuff, because when they do illegal streaming of La Liga, Bundesliga, Premier League, international games at the World Cup, they repaint all the logos on the shirts. So there's no McDonald's and Ford branding on the World Cup illegal streaming version. There's illegal gambling advertising there. So price, product, and promotion, as Marta said here, illegal gambling wins every time. And they don't need to pay any taxes, don't obey any rules. The only area where illegal gambling doesn't have a benefit is they don't necessarily have land-based resorts. But maybe that's coming soon too, if we don't put a stop to the crime online, because what does crime do when it makes money? More crime.
And you see, what's very interesting, I think, to my personal opinion, is that very often it was said that if you liberalize the market, your problem will be solved, which we now see after certain markets in Europe being open, we see that it's not the case. The Netherlands is a very good example. So the Netherlands was liberalized. I think there are about 30 licenses being given out now. But because of all the restrictions and the way that it's being dealt with over the last few years, today in 25, around half of the online revenue is now illegal again. And they had a penalization of over 80% 2 years ago. So it is a really complicated subject that really I always say you need to find the perfect balance, which we all know finding a perfect balance is always very complicated.
Yeah.
But it is really important, and I'm completely with Ismail, we really need to work together. Law enforcement, regulators, the industry, the operators, the suppliers, if we really take our industry really seriously, and I think we do, we're very, very proud to work in this industry, and a lot of talents are very proud to work in our industry, we really need to work together to really find the golden key to unlock really taking care of this, because it needs to happen.
You mentioned there about perfect balance. I often use an example of the Jenga tower. So the bricks that we play in the pub, that kind of game, you can pull bricks out of that. Start seeing the online gaming marketplace, the ecosystem, like those Jenga bricks. So if you start saying, okay, I'm going to increase taxes, you're pulling out one of those bricks. You say I'm going to restrict, like they did in Belgium. Belgium had a whole series of these bricks being pulled out between 2020 and 2025. So Belgium went from increased taxes. Then they said no cross-sell. You can't go from sportsbook to casino. This business is built on cross-sell. I know that, having been an operator. If you say that I need a separate sportsbook and casino, now, and you can't share the databases, you've taken out 2 more bricks. You also then stop all the advertising. A whole bunch of new bricks come out. Where does the Belgian marketplace go? 2020, 85% legal. 2025, 15% legal.
Wow.
So you literally turned that thing on its head. And you basically went, okay, we're still in charge. That regulation is basically going, yes, you can regulate however you want in a marketplace. That's up to politicians, lawmakers, and the regulators. Run your market your way. It is Burger King when it comes to that. Have it your way, okay? However, if you have not removed crime, you are basically grafting a legal business on top of an illegally dominated marketplace. They will still get their share, and they will grow at the same time as the legal business initially grows. And that's what you're seeing in America and Europe right now. You have failed because crime hasn't been removed. And I am not saying it's anybody's fault. Crime brought this to our marketplaces. Blame them. But let's work together to defeat them.
Yeah. But when regulation shifts, Ismail, how exactly does the black market react to it? They are clearly organised well enough to react to this stuff, right?
They hear that regulation changing and it's opportunity knocks. Yeah. It's like, how do I get advantage of this? So in any country where they're saying we're going to increase the age limit for gambling from 18 to 19 to 20 to 25, say hello to more children gambling. That's all that's going to happen. Wow. So they will offer it. They're the one-stop shop everywhere you go because that's their business. And what they understood clearly during the pandemic was, we like the gambling business. Why? Crime used to love the gambling business for one reason: money laundering. They now love the gambling business because of money, period. Okay? Yeah. They want to be in everything, and also they understand that when you are dead as a customer, when you have no more money left to gamble, well, now I'll sell you financial loans. Now I'll sell you cheap mortgages and all this other nonsense. Yeah. So they'll find a way of getting data to mean more money for them. So there is a much longer tail on a gambling recruited customer than any other product in the world for crime. So they will find another way to monetize you. So don't look at this as the control of, they just came for the gambling. They came for the audience. That's it.
Okay, so what can be done to combat the black market? So what new technologies and innovations are available that can help combat the illegal market?
I built it at Yilsec and I sold it to GCI and it exists already. So across the ecosystem, there are 8 essentials: search, site, social, etc. You need to look in that ecosystem to find where is the audience, have awareness of what they're doing, where they are, all the audience, all their activity, all of the time. You then need to be making sure that you're channelizing that marketplace effectively, because we come out with a channelization rate, but it's just a hallucination. We need to be showing it from where the activity and audience are in the marketplace. Then direct that to go across that ecosystem. How much of the audience is being trafficked via social? Deal with that problem. How much is being trafficked via websites and IP blocking? Deal with that problem. How much of it is payments, when we can get the banks to work together, the payment wallets to work together, PayPal and credit card companies to work together? Deal with that problem. But if you don't deal with all of this stuff at once and have some priorities around it, you will not get control of your marketplace. And fundamentally here, for everybody, the regulators, politicians, governments, operators, legally, licensees, law enforcement, it's your marketplace, yours. It's your money. Okay, so I feel that sting when somebody steals my napkin, okay? Yeah. I want to feel that sting in every country when they're stealing my money from my marketplace in the industry I spent my life and career in. It's your money. Take it back. Take control back.
Yeah. Marta, how should regulators be working with operators to help battle the black market, do you think?
I mean, obviously it's very hard to find that balance. What is clear is that enforcement is not working. I mean, we're very proud of all these millionaire sanctions to offshore operators, but it's not real. I mean, they don't pay, they change domains, they change brand names, and they keep targeting the Spanish market. So we will need to find this cooperation, international cooperation, operator and regulator cooperation, and find balance to fight against this, because this is a big, big problem.
Yeah. Erwin, do you think there needs to be more cross-border sort of collaboration?
Well, I think at the end of the day, it's the industry's responsibility to really make very clear how big the problem is. And I think that's exactly what we're doing here today during this panel as well, in this broadcast. It is a real issue. We need to deal with it. We need to work together on it. There are the tools available to do it pretty quickly. There is payment blocking. There is payment blocking in place. We can actually talk to Meta, and there is penalties and consequences for everybody offering illegal products. Let's make that happen. Let's make the industry even better. But it's really important that regulators, politicians, and law enforcement knows is exactly what we're doing here today.
Yeah.
What do you think legal operators can do to build trust and keep the customers away from the illegal option?
Very easily. First of all, whatever we offer always needs to be perfect. We need to follow the rules, we need to take our consumers really seriously, and we need to protect our business and our consumers by that really, really well. And I think that's the proof of basically separating the good guys and the bad guys. And it's our obligation to explain very clearly what the problem is, how big it is. And I think for a very long time, also because it's in the internet, as we all know, what you can't see, you think it doesn't exist. It does exist, it's massive, and there are tools to fix it.
Okay, so we've got time for one last question. Ismail, I'll give it to you. Ultimately, the black market contributes to a negative perception of the gambling industry, right, among wider society. How do you see this changing and developing over the next few years?
So one of the biggest things I always say is basically get the benefit for your commerce community consumers. Legal, licensed gambling gifts that to countries, gives that money to governments, gives that money to societies to pay for roads, hospitals, schools. Okay, that comes from legal gambling. Nothing comes from illegal gambling. Nothing but consequences and harm and crime. So the perception here needs to change, because the legal gambling industry is the one that provides benefit. Illegal gambling provides no benefit and more consequences that you will also pay for as a taxpayer, as a government, as societies. And what does crime do when it makes money? More crime. So please start seeing what's going on here. This is somebody who came to steal your things from your country and abuse your audiences, abuse and toxify your children. So get control of your marketplaces by working together across that ecosystem. And this is not a hard mission. Look what was achieved in the Philippines. 92% illegal to 58% legal in less than 3 years, because they understood one thing: we need that money.
Yeah.
That money means we can build more roads, more flood defenses, we can pay for the country's development. And almost in developed countries, we seem to look at this as, it's gambling, they're always up to no good. No, they're not. The legal gambling industry can do substantial good and benefit. And if we all got in a line and queued up and got those licenses, were audited and reviewed for those licenses, pay for those licenses, pay taxes, how can you look at the legal gambling industry and say they're somehow faulty, they're somehow questionable? Regulators are there to police and enforce against those licensees, but they're also there to help support them in the benefit they can provide. Work together, make it change.
Okay, great. Well, I think that's a great note to end it on. Thank you very much for your time today, and thank you to everyone who tuned in. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.